engineers how to use welding, how to weld, and how to use machine shop tools and things. And so he made $600, $900. They had great tickets for the Sioux game.
I know that, but he didn't make a lot of money ever. But the people that he trained did. One of them was my brother. He went off and became an oil man, mechanical engineer at UND. My mom worked at AgSco. She was AgSco Feed and Seed. She was an executive secretary. She typed 100 words a minute, which if you'd seen her fingers in the last couple of years, never understand how she could have done that before the arthritis got her. She did that until she was 57, and they sent 3 kids through college. It was easier then. We lived in Grand Forks, so there was we lived at home. None of us were allowed to move into a dorm or anything. They weren't going to pay for that. Tuition was almost nothing back in the 60s, early 70s. And so we all got through. It took me longer than usual because I had to work at it. I worked as a gas station manager at Rugby for a little while and went back to college. I worked as a dishwasher at some restaurants, went back to college. I worked construction, went back to college. It took me quite a while. In fact, between the time I entered school as a freshman and when I got my master's degree in history, it took 19 years. In that time, I'd also become a high school history teacher who taught in a small town of Flaxton, way up in Burke County. But my mom did that until she was 57, then she retired. And she went to college as a freshman. And she graduated from there, and she went on to the seminary, and on her 65th birthday, she became a Presbyterian minister, and kept doing it for 14 years. And I guarantee you, if you want to live till 90, and you're working class, and you've never made a lot of money, and you don't want to outlive your money, she showed us how. You work till you're 79. and she just passed away last year. That's my family. It's a different background from our governor or our lieutenant governor. And just down in Carrington, and here, I'd like to talk about a couple of co-ops. There's the Bison Co-op here, which I don't know how successful it's been recently. I know it was a great boon for a time, and I hope that it will be. But it was Dakota Growers that I wanted to talk about. Dakota Growers Pasta Company was a co-op, and it was formed as a co-op, and it got a lot of aid because this is what we do. We pull together. Farmers have always pulled together. I was telling earlier about how in the country of Denmark, way back in the teens, in the 20s, co-ops were the thing. They didn't go to government for help. They did it themselves. And so the farmers not only ran the farms, but they owned the elevators, the mills, the bakeries, and the stores and the restaurants, and they had it all. They got about 80% of the dollar that was being spent by a consumer went back to the farmer, one way or another. Co-ops made it big here as well for a time, and it just makes sense. These are the ways that people gather together to fight powers and wealth and concentration of wealth and power. So they did that at Dakota Growers, but they put Jack Dalrymple in charge. He was the chairman of the board. They received aid from the state, Bank of North Dakota. They received aid from the actually Stutsman County Jobs Authority, I think it was, from the local RECs. They received a lot of help. And then they converted from being a co-op to being a mutual. And then they sold the mutual just this year. And Jack, that was the news story that caught my attention, because it said that Jack Dalrymple was chairman of the board and got paid $60,000 a year as chairman of the board. I said, wait a minute, he's lieutenant governor. That's presumably a full-time job. We pay a pretty good salary. I think it's $95,000 or something like that to be lieutenant governor. He's got another job. It's not a real job. He just shows up for a few meetings, but he gets $60,000 a year. And I looked into it. Well, he had 204,000 shares of stock in the company. And they paid a $1.75 dividend last year. So he made $350,000 in that. This is chicken feed, Jack Dalrymple. That's Dalrymple. They're the bonanza farmers in the valley. They own land from your country all the way down to the South Dakota line. They're rich. So it's not a lot of money to him, but it's real money to us. So he made over $400,000 there, and he made $90,000 as lieutenant governor. Then they sold the company, got $3.7 million for his shares. I didn't like the sale of the company. Now, I know that a lot of farmers around here did like it because they got $18 for their shares, and they haven't paid that for them. So they made some money, they cashed out, they're doing well. But in the long run is what I like to think about. What are their kids going to be? Are the kids going to be able to sell durum to that plant? Or are the Canadians going to sell it because they sold it to a Canadian firm? Is that what's going to happen? But it really struck me that the lieutenant governor could have this side business and could presumably drive business that way. And of course, the lieutenant governor will become governor if John Hovind's elected to the U.S. Senate. And it just struck me as something funny. So I went to the Legislative Council. I said, seriously, can we do that? I said, let me give you an example. Can the insurance commissioner own an insurance company? I said, yeah. That he regulates. He can own that. Yeah. Could the public service commissioner be on the board of directors of MDU or an REC? Yes. They have no laws about that. Well, I asked for a bill draft, and because ethics in government is one of the things that I'm really concerned about. Just even the perception of impropriety is what undermines our faith in government. Just the perception that people could be doing something like that. Well, then we filed our financial disclosure forms because it's a little different. In state government, very little you have to do. But at the federal level, you have to file a pretty extensive financial disclosure form. And so I filed mine, and the governor filed his. Not much exciting in mine, I guarantee you. But in the governor's, kind of interesting. There was this one thing, I've just shaken my head, I can't quite figure out. He borrowed between $5 and $25 million. That's how you do it. There's a little chart, you check in here, and it's between $5 and $25 million. He borrowed $5 and $25 million from the State Bank of Kenmare last year. I don't know why. He has between $5 and $25 million worth of shares at First Western Bank, which is his dad's bank in Minot. They built a bank in the Twin Cities while he was governor. He organized and built a bank down in the Twin Cities. Is it that easy to be a businessman or that easy to be governor that you can do these both things at the same time and do them successfully? Whatever. What struck me is this one. He has between $5 and $25 million of a company called Northwest Respiratory Services out of the Twin Cities. They sell breathing equipment, oxygen tanks and face masks and things to people who need that. Nursing homes, veterans home, hospitals, individuals. And the governor made, last year, from his partnership in that, he made $1.9 million. I don't begrudge him being a millionaire. I don't begrudge him earning $2 million last year. $100,000 from us and $1.9 million from that. I don't begrudge any of that. But it smacks of impropriety if a business that you own is doing business with the state, and they are. They supply the nursing home, they supply the veterans home. Medicaid dollars are going to those nursing homes that are buying the equipment. I'm sure that this is a fine company and probably other states are buying from it, and it's nothing completely improper except on the face of it. It looks improper. So I suggest, and will suggest to the Congress of the United States, that if you're elected to the U.S. Senate, you put your holdings into a blind trust. I understand that John Kerry owns part of BP. That it's not right. I mean, I'm sure, again, it's not influencing him, but the perception is there. We don't want that. We want government to be squeaky clean, and we have to be. There's so many people that are upset about government these days and what it does. We have to make sure that it's above board. So there's a difference between John Hovind and myself. Is I don't come from that category. The other night in let's see, were any of you guys there? No, down in Jamestown, we had a Democrat meeting, District 12 and 29. Merle Boucher made a great line. He said he was talking about the Democratic ticket for the House of Representatives this year, Representative Vig, and he said we have 17 women running for the 39 seats or whatever that are up, and we have 2 Native Americans. We're a party that embraces diversity. Diversity in the Republican Party is they got a millionaire from Cass County and a millionaire from Ward County. That's diversity. But again, I don't begrudge them that. It's just how do you relate to real people that have real problems, that have to pay tuition, have to pay mortgages, have to sometimes push a bill over to the side because okay, the other one. How do you relate to that? Well, I can't.